So we're live, kind of. Let's get going here on the company info session and tell you a little bit more about Startup TNT. For those that don't know, we have a whole new province online for this fall summit. Well, if you didn't know, the TNT in our name stands for Thursday Night Tradition, and that's where it all began. Just over 5 years ago, co-founder Zach Storm started the happy hour on his 35th birthday and started running that out of Edmonton. Shortly thereafter, he met Tim Lin, and they both realized that they wanted to have impact in the investment space by helping companies raise capital from smaller cities and city centers so that they can stay there and eventually scale and grow and start raising money in bigger numbers. And so they identified the investment summit model, which we're here to talk about today, and have been running that ever since February of 2020. In that time, we've had numerous summit winners. These are just a handful here you can see on screen. And you can see there our impact over the last four years of investing. Over 15 million raises, actually almost at 16 million now, 30 plus summits. Over 400 investors have been engaged. A large portion of those investors have never done angel investments before. And we've got over 100 companies that have been funded. And the really cool part I love when I see this wall of logos, and we have even more up on the website if you want to check that out. You'll see companies from all kinds of different backgrounds, sectors, industries. You've got folks in the ag space. You've got folks legal tech, real estate, working in optometry or ophthalmology, dentistry, IoT sensors. So we've got hardware, software. We've got all kinds of different companies here at TNT. Almost all of them, though, are looking to scale globally and become a really big company one day. And that's what really differentiates the companies that we're investing in versus maybe your more traditional mainstream companies. Moving on, of course, we could not do this without the support of our partners and sponsors. We are very thankful to Innovation Saskatchewan, Alberta Innovates, and PraiseCan for their support as our core funding sponsors across Alberta and Saskatchewan. Of course, our best friend forever, API, Osler. They've been really great to us. API is our Powered by sponsor for the Life Sciences Summit. And if you want to learn a little bit more about that, we'll be doing that info session on Thursday. And of course, we got all kinds of great best friends, AEC, BOSE, CBRE, Fasken, Recruiter, and MNP. Not only are all these folks on here are sponsors, but they're also really great service providers to the startup ecosystem. That's the reason why we have them up here on our logo wall. So if you're looking for services and then shred consulting, real estate, legal, accounting, these are the types of people that we recommend you check out. And then we have even more on the other page here. Again, we have, shred, accounting, debt financing through BDC, banking, RBCX there. Highly recommend you check out all of these folks if you're looking for services in those areas. So thank you very, very much to our sponsors and partners. Moving on, these are the names I was mentioning there. We have Zach and Tim, the two co-founders of TNT, busy working away today. They're also running the Edmonton pool, or Edmonton stream. So if you're in that region, those are the folks you need to be reaching out to. We've got Adrian down in Regina, Mike, as I mentioned earlier, in Saskatchewan, Will in BC, and Hassan is in Regina. But stay tuned for a bit of an announcement there on the Regina side if you're in Regina. Of course, myself as the community development lead, Neil as our partnerships lead, Jonah and Winnie, you're going to be kind of hearing from maybe in the background. They do the briefings for the pitch night. If you love our marketing, if that's the reason why you're here, you can thank Mandy Armstrong for that. She's marketing extraordinaire, and Abby working behind the scenes on our admin. Moving forward, we would like you to join us for Summit 10, and I'm going to pass it over to Will to tell you the reasons why.
Yeah, I'll jump into this. I mean, the points are on there. I won't go too long because we're going to get a bit more in depth on each of these bullet points, right? Obviously, Startup TNT investment supplements are an opportunity for startups to raise capital from angels in their local community and network, and even from some angels from other regions within the Startup TNT ecosystem. But, let's just lay it out here, right? Anytime you as a founder gets an opportunity to talk to investors and to refine your value proposition and what you do, that's a win for you. And a lot of startups sometimes even struggle with the basics. So this is, again, a great opportunity and experience to really refine that, what you do, your pitch, right, and how you talk about your business. A big part of gaining investment is, having an organized data room. So some of you might not know what a data room is. You're going to learn about that through this process, which is essentially where you organize, the information, your finances, your employment records, your cap table, all that information and organize. Sometimes it's a Google Drive, right? So your investors can do proper due diligence on you. So you're going to learn about that throughout this whole experience. We talked about, the investors. This is a group of people who want to see you succeed, and this is a really good opportunity for you to get one-on-one feedback from investors. Even if you don't, continue the whole process of a Startup TNT investment summit, you're going to gain valuable feedback from the Startup TNT team and then from some of the angels in the network as well. And the fourth point here, a really big one, is just the increased visibility that you might get as an entrepreneur and a startup throughout this process. The further along you go through the process, the bigger opportunity for you to get in front of your community who really wants to see you win. And we'll talk a little bit about the pitch nights later, right? But there's a top 15 to top 20 pitch night where we've got a lot of startups that will be pitching live in front of investors in your community. And then, of course, the top 5 finale. That's typically in front of a room of 150 to 200 people. Plus, both of those events are live streamed. So it's a great opportunity to get in front of everyone in your community, and then people watch this across Canada. So good, really good opportunity for that increased visibility. And again, at the end of the day, this is about bringing the community together to support founders and entrepreneurs and to help them succeed.
Absolutely. Yeah. So much more to this process than just the money. I know lots of folks are curious about that, and we'll get to that in just 1 minute. I should also mention when you're filling out your application, there's a couple boxes that you can check whether or not you would like for us to share your application with some other groups. Those include VCs, other incubators and accelerator programs. So if you do check that box, you will get shared in our deal flow sharing emails, and we've got hundreds of investors, VC investors on those lists, and as well as the incubators and accelerator programs. So lots of great ways to get more visible, as Will just mentioned. All right. So people are probably curious about how this investment part works. Maybe we'll get into this first before we dive into the rest of the program. So Mike, how does it work at Startup TNT for our investments?
All right, thanks, Jesse. Yeah, so here's how it goes. So headed into the process, each investor pre-commits $5,000. So what that ends up happening is that those $5,000 get pooled together into a limited partnership. Sorry, my doorbell is ringing right now. Just gonna let that go. And then once we decide on a winning company in each summit, so that's each individual region and sector, our VC fund co-invests $50,000 alongside the angels to support that investment, all through that limited partnership. So the most important part here is that for the startups and for founders, that only one name at the end of the day gets added to your cap table. So often concern with a bunch of angels coming and investing all at once. Well, I don't want to have 50 names on my cap table. It's going to really mess things up for the next round. I don't want to be reporting back to all these people. You just have one name on the cap table at Startup TNT and really one core contact moving forward. And that's the Startup TNT team.
All right. And we, of course, we've got more than just one investment. We have side deals as well. How do those work, Mike?
I love side deals. In Saskatchewan, we're famous for doing lots of side deals. We love to make that happen, try and get as many companies funded as possible. So yeah, at the end of each summit, we have that winning company. It takes away the 150 plus check. And then investors get really excited, right? So they've had a look at these companies. We've negotiated deal terms with all 5 companies across each region, and investors have the opportunity then to double down and invest more in that winning company, invest across provinces into the winning companies in the other regions, or into the companies that didn't win in their region or others. Sometimes, they're still great companies, or we got investors that are really passionate about that particular sector. The only difference there being is that if you get a side deal, the VC fund isn't involved, and you'll have just a group of investors rather than the whole group that came in your region.
And yeah, it comes from the entire pool of investors that are in TNT between BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan. We even have folks in Manitoba and Ontario that join us sometimes as well. So there's really great opportunity there to have a broad pool of investors on your cap table. And as mentioned, we do have a VC fund coming up on the final close for that fund, but it has already been deploying checks into companies since the spring of 2022. Each winner receives that $50,000 addition to the final pool. And there's an opportunity further down the road, if you end up making it along to the next round of investment, for us to follow on into those companies. We send 2 venture partners. Those are LPs in the fund, investors in the fund, that have experience building companies. Most of our investors are entrepreneurs themselves, or have built or run a successful company, or are maybe working as a senior exec within a large corporation. With that experience, they're able to help you navigate some of the trials and tribulations of getting from where you are now to where you want to be. And if you're able to make it to the next stage, yeah, there's some additional money there for you, potentially for follow-on investment. If anyone has any questions about this whole thing, please feel free, again, to post them in the chat. We'd be happy to answer any additional questions. There'll be some time at the end as well to go through all of this. Moving forward. So you're hearing this, you're seeing this, you're really excited. You're like, I really want to be a part of this. Well, how do you know you're a good fit? Will, walk us through it.
Definitely. Yeah. So you're watching this and you know your company and you're asking yourself, can I take part? Do I have the time? Am I eligible, etc. I'm going to do this in the different order that's on this slide here. So stage, just think about where you are as a business. Companies that are eligible and make sense for the Startup TNT Investment Summit, pre-Series A, pre and post-revenue companies. But yeah, pre-revenue companies, great. I've already been looking at some of the applications that have been coming in, and there's a good mix of companies that are pre-revenue, no revenue, and then companies that are doing 50,000 ARR. I've seen some companies doing 3 million ARR. So there is a wide variety, but the key thing is pre-Series A, pre and post-revenue. Where are you located? For Summit 10 and the Life Sciences Summit. Actually, we'll get into that in a second. Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia are the eligible geographic regions for the time being. Jesse, are you getting into life sciences in Manitoba later in this? I forget.
No, that'll be on Thursday. But yeah, if you're in Manitoba, unfortunately, you're not going to be eligible for this summit this fall. We are on pause there for a summit cycle. We're hoping to be back in the spring. But if you're in life sciences in Manitoba, yeah, join us or check out the recording on Thursday for more information about the Life Sciences Summit.
Perfect. Thanks, Jesse. But yeah, tied to sector though, companies can be scaling startups operating in any vertical or sector. Like I said, life sciences, there's a specific summit for you, but anyone else in any other vertical can take part. So again, there's a wide variety of companies that take part in Startup TNT investment summits. But another key thing is, do you have the time to take part in this also, right? So once we close applications and we identify the top companies that take part in the investment summit, you're going to have to take part in a pretty rigorous 8-week due diligence process. Now, it sounds like a long time, but anyone who's ever done fundraising knows that actually 8 weeks is pretty quick, right? So it's an 8-week due diligence process, meetings on a number of days throughout that 8-week process. For those of you who are in a top 15 or top 20 company, there is a pitch night on October 10th. That's taking place in the different regions. In Vancouver, it's downtown Vancouver. It'll be a different place for the other regions. And then there's a summit finale on November 14th. And that takes part, again, similarly in person. It's also streamed, and so you need to be available that night. The winning deal, as Jesse talked about, wins typically 100K from the Angel Syndicate plus 50K from the TNT VC fund. And so, again, take all that into consideration and then ask yourself, does this make sense for you? I see some comments coming up in the chat I might just well, actually, I'll take a look at them. We can all take a look here. Don't have to be tech companies. Correct. Yeah, the question is, applicants don't have to be tech companies, quote unquote, right? Then typically that is correct. So we've had companies that are a wide variety. Last summit I was involved in, I was looking at a company that was doing, canned beverages. We were looking at companies that were, taking, mushroom fungi and turning them into protein. So there's a wide variety. Yes, typically a service company could apply. Absolutely. What else do we have here? At William B. Seeley, what if a major founder is not Canadian yet, as in not landed immigrant or citizen, but has a visa to be here for a limited time? The company is incorporated in BC. That should be fine.
Yeah, it should be fine. I would just say, be transparent about it during the due diligence process, and that'll be a conversation with the investors once you get into the summit.
Yeah. Jesse's answered Tarek. Average total winner check has been around 200K.
Yeah.
And then Winnie's giving me good recommendations for reading out the questions for the recordings. Absolutely. Perfect. But anyway, that's all for that slide. Are you eligible? Take all that into consideration. And then again, I dropped my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out to any of us on this call and we can answer more questions.
Absolutely. We still got lots of time here to keep going. So if you have questions, feel free to keep posting. So yeah, Will mentioned it is an 8-week process. There are some key dates that we've mentioned already, October 10th and November 14th. But Mike, what does the process look like? What's the timeline? Let's take a look.
All right, here you go. Here's an important slide. You can make sure you can come back to this later in the recording if you have to, and get these in your calendar. So we're already past August 15th. Applications are open. September 18th, if you're considering applying, make sure you get your applications in before September 18th. It's rare that we accommodate any late applications, so please try your best to get that in on time. October 1st is when the first round of applicants are selected to move further into the process. You'll get notified at that time. You get feedback opportunities if you don't make it in. And then that leads into October 10th, which is the TNT pitch night. Be happening live in each region. Anywhere between 10 and 20 companies will be selected for that part of the process, depending on your region. And then closely following that, the investors will vote again on October 14th to narrow it down to top 10. And this is where you can see we get into the more intensive DD process. So founders, you can kind of prepare yourself to get data rooms ready around that October 24th or October 14th mark, and prepare for some more detailed questions and due diligence after that point if you make it into the top 10. On October 31st, the finalists are selected, one last or another vote. And then November 14th, the big finale, another live event in each region. Top 5 companies will pitch in front of the investors, and decisions will be made on the night of. And then ideally, in the next week or so, we have all of our side deals committed and confirmed, and we can start transferring funds out by the end of November, early December.
Yes, and as mentioned there at the bottom, there's entrepreneur education throughout, and we'll get to that just a minute. But thank you for walking us through that. So what's happening during the due diligence process? Well, as Mike mentioned, there's a number of meetings that happen, especially at the earliest stage when we kind of get into that first round before the pitch night. We get small groups of investors, about 2 or 3 investors will meet with you for about 30 minutes. They'll ask you a whole bunch of questions. So make sure you're prepared for answering a number of questions and don't just kind of ramble on for the 30 minutes that you have. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about what a good due diligence meeting looks like, there's some resources we'll share in a bit to help you with that as well. Typically, these meetings will happen on Zoom, but they can also happen in person, either at your facility or even at just a coffee shop or something like that. As well, the investors meet regularly on Wednesdays every week, where they get a chance to talk between the investors and share information with one another, ask additional questions, saying, "Hey, did you ask about the financial stuff? Did you ask about their legal situation? Did we confirm what the situation is with the founder that doesn't have their immigration status fully figured out yet?" Stuff like that. We'll dive into that and talk about that collectively. As we get further into the process, that's where you're going to kind of see 4, 5, sorry, the four here at the bottom. The reference follow-ups will start happening kind of in that middle stage. We start to call our friends. We call folks that you've provided to us as well, and learn a little bit more about who you are and more about the industry and the business that we're looking at. One of the really important aspects of the process is the data rooms that happens at the top 10 stage. Data rooms sound kind of crazy, but really all it is a Google Drive, a OneDrive, something on the cloud, where you have all your documents and it's organized in a nice way that tells a story about your business. We provide you with a checklist that has various items prioritized as you go through the checklist. We encourage you to start building that as you go through now, so that you're not doing it like sort of as you're in the summit, because it takes a little while to put together all these documents and make sure that everything is double checked. And when we get down to the final stages, that's when we get into the deal structure negotiations, where we set deal terms. We have to have all deal terms set before the finale night with each of our finalists. So that could be a SAFE, a convertible note, or shares of some kind, commons, preferreds. If you have a lead in place, we're more than happy to follow. If you don't have a lead, we're happy to set terms in lead. And if you want to learn more all about what that means and some of these terms, again, we have education sessions throughout the process to help you navigate the finer points of deal structure negotiation. And as I mentioned, we can come to your facilities. We can come and check out your product. We probably want to meet with your CTO or your chief technical person, and get some demos of the technology, whether it's software or hardware, or a demo of what it is that your business does that makes it so unique and is going to make it able to scale with additional investment from our investors. So we want to learn a little bit more about that product, so we'll be doing demos and IP reviews. A couple more questions are in the chat here. Yeah, Taylor asking about applying even if he's not able to make the pitch night. Yes, please apply. We do run these twice a year. Got a couple questions here asking about, are these offered regularly? We do them twice a year, actually. We used to do them 3 times a year. We've now moved entirely to a twice a year cycle, so they happen in the spring and in the fall. So the next intake will be in late February, early March. So keep your eyes out for that one. Yeah, and as Will mentioned there, yeah, we'd love to visit offices, labs, come see your facility, come meet some more of your staff, and learn a little bit more about them. Ryan Wagner asks, what will be the impact if we are still looking for a co-founder? How receptive is Startup TNT to solo founders? A number of our winners have solo founders, in addition to our side deals. We do acknowledge that sometimes it's tough to get your full team together at those earliest stages. But generally speaking, I do think teams that have co-founders generally do better. It is a lonely journey, but that is also why we have the TNT Happy Hour and the other social events that we do. It gives you an opportunity to come out and meet other people, to either find your co-founder at least have a support network to help you navigate the tricky situation. So yeah, if you're a solo founder, if you have a bunch of co-founders, doesn't matter, apply. We're happy to take a look. All right, moving on. Passing it back to Will. Well, we mentioned those pitch nights. Tell us a little bit more about how awesome these pitch nights are. You've been to a few of them now that you've joined the team.
Yeah, I got to fly out to Regina for an agritech and ag food pitch night. It was electric. And then most recently I got to co-host the Calgary finale pitch night, and that was incredible. Well, hundreds of people at Platform Calgary. And let us just remind you, this is not a pitch competition. However, like we said, this is a great opportunity to refine your pitch throughout this investment process. And, as someone who actually worked in media, marketing, public relations, now I'm on the investor side. What I can tell you is sometimes it is the best story that wins with Startup TNT, but just generally investment, private and public markets. So again, this is more than a pitch competition. Like we said, make sure you note these dates. But again, pitching, storytelling is crucial, again, for your startup journey. So I think that's all I have to say about this slide.
Answering one of the questions in the chat about where people are based. Yeah, if we need to go into any deeper than that, we will. But yeah, back to Will's point here on the slide. Highly recommend you put these in your calendar and you try to attend regardless if you make it to the first round or to the finale. These are great events. Come out, encourage your fellow founders. We give an opportunity to get feedback at multiple stages throughout the process. So if you didn't make it, then at least you can know that maybe I'll make it next time, and you can come out and see what it takes and what it looks like when you're on stage with us at our pitch nights. So yeah, and they happen all across all cities, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and Regina for the pitch night. That's where the live events will be. And then in Saskatchewan, we swap over to Saskatoon for the finale. And again, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver will play host as well. So great events in person. They're also live streamed. They are virtual, so there is a virtual option if you're not able to attend in person. And what we basically say, unless there's an absolutely critical extenuating circumstance that you cannot attend and pitch in person, then we can try to accommodate. But all pitchers should be there in person if possible. All right. How are we making our decisions? Mike, walk us through it.
Awesome. Yeah. So throughout the process, it's a democratic process. So you've got lots of different investors looking at your company, and they're all coming back together, sharing notes, having discussions, and voting together on how things move forward. So how we get started is when we start off the summit and all the companies applied. That first stage is we have the investors review at least 10 companies each. We have some investors who go through the whole bunch and review every single company and vote. And we have them vote 1 to 4 based on how interested they are in meeting with that company. So 1 being sort of a hard no, 4 being a hard yes. And then we aggregate those scores and narrow that down to come up with the companies that pitch at our kickoff event and move further into the process. Next, once we're choosing to vote into top 10 and then later the top 5 stage, that is a ranked choice ballot. So at top 10, company or the investors rank their top 10 companies in order of their interest. And then we distribute points depending on where those lie, and then again add that together. And then the winner is done the same way, another ranked choice ballot. The investors rank their top 5 companies at that point, aggregate the scores, put them together. So again, this is not a pitch competition. Can't reiterate that enough. There's tons of information going into the decisions the investors make. As you're a founder going through the process, you might have formal meetings with 3, 4, maybe 5 investors, but there's way more investors behind the scenes. So highly encourage making an effort to try and build the relationships across the group. That means going up to happy hours and trying to work the events, showing up early at the events and whatnot, and treat those investors that are sort of working with you and taking meetings with you as sort of advocates within the group, and influencing sort of at the investor meetings and whatnot. Like we said, most summits have more than one funded deal. So having those investors working with you, being advocates for you, pushing for side deals, whether you win or not, could be the difference between walking away with money or not. So, yeah.
And Mike, we mentioned earlier during the process, there's only going to be like a few investors that are going to meeting directly with the companies. Are there other ways that the startups can make sure that they're able to get in front of more investors or connect with the broader pool?
Yeah, I mean, I highly recommend going up to the happy hours. And again, going to the pitch events early, staying late, and talking to your TNT lead as well, and we can kind of help make introductions at those events and whatnot. And yeah, reaching out through the investors that you have and being proactive, right? Send invites if you want them to come up and check out your awesome facility. Send them an invite. Be proactive, right? We also have, sometimes founders, investors will reach out and have, a beer outside of, the normal summit process, or go grab coffee or something like that. Like, yeah, do what you can to build relationships and get introductions. Yeah, this is very similar to networking with traditional investors, right? It's a lot about relationships and being proactive with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Highly encourage, being proactive. Folks that kind of say, hey, I've got a great company, folks, just invest. It's a relationships game at the end of the day. We're not just going to invest simply because you think you're awesome. Unfortunately, everybody here thinks they're awesome. So part of our job is to filter through and determine the ones that we like the most. We had a quick question there in the chat. Do you have a target MRR or target revenue the company needs to be pulling for a favorable consideration? There isn't any sort of specific number like that. That's not how we operate. We don't just invest in B2B SaaS type companies. We invest in all kinds of different companies. So the state of the revenue of your business is highly dependent on where you're at when in your stage of development and what sector and industry you're in. So very highly dependent. Sounds like a lawyer. It depends. That's how it works here at TNT when it comes to that kind of thing. Any other questions? No, looks like we're good. So moving on. So the program itself, as mentioned, the whole point here is to help accelerate your ability to raise capital through learning the important aspects of learning capital through real experiences. So of course you have the due diligence meetings with real investors that have already pre-committed money. So they're going to show up in a very real way, ready to ask you lots of questions. So be prepared to answer those. If you've seen Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, it may seem like that, but it's going to be a little more collegial, a little more fun. At the same time, you need to know your numbers. You need to be able to answer questions when you're put on the spot is really important. We do provide a copy of our due diligence notes page to the applicants ahead of time, a sample. This is the same document that our investors receive that has all kinds of questions laid out on it, everything from market sizing to financial performance to where you want the company to grow, potential for exit. All of that kind of stuff is in those DD notes, and the investors will be asking all types of different questions about your business. Of course, there is a pitch night. There's an opportunity to do some peer pitch practice. One of my favorite sessions. Trying to say that 3 times fast. We do that 1 week before the pitch night on October 10th. We do that in the morning of October 3rd. Highly encourage everybody to attend that. Those that apply and make it into that first round will be added to the calendar invite, but maybe just put a hold in your calendar now so that you don't book another meeting at that time, because it is a really, really great session for those preparing for pitch night. I mentioned, there's a chance to learn a little bit more about how deal terms are put together with our very own Tim Lin. He's our angel in residence as well as the TNT co-founder for all of TNT. And we go through, what a great deal looks like, all the different options that are on the table, and we answer some questions specifically about what you might be experiencing amongst the group that makes it into the top 10 stage. When we get down to the top 5, we're looking to not only invest our own capital, but encourage others to invest alongside us. As I mentioned, we have a broad network of venture capital firms that are looking to invest with us. And we pull those groups, those friends together on November 7th, and we do a rapid fire sort of speed dating with them, 3 20-minute meetings over the course of an hour, meeting with 3 different VCs where we've matched based on thesis and potential for investment. So again, really accelerating your ability to raise capital through the TNT process. And as you get further along, you get more opportunities. So that's what that part of the program is all about. Do you make the resource material available to applicants and people who don't qualify for this round? So other than the sessions specifically that are mentioned there, the other resources, which actually I'll just click ahead here to the next page. These are resources that are available. We will be sharing the slides after the fact as a PDF, so you'll have access to these links. A lot of it's on our website. If you go to the resources page on the TNT website, you'll find it there, and then you also have it on our YouTube playlist, where it's public on our YouTube page. You'll see there's like a founder resource base with a number of our sessions linked in there. These are some specific ones to check out. Check out our past pitches as well on our YouTube channel. You can check out our boot camp that we did with David Yiptong and John Lipoth. Really great session on how to prepare a pitch. And of course, some more information about due diligence and our checklist, all available again on our website or through our YouTube page. So it's very public. Any questions about all of that? I think we're good. Okay, we're getting near the end here. But one quick thing we want to highlight, it's really important, is how should the founders be showing up for the summit process? How should they be interacting with our investors, both in the lead up now to the application deadline and once they actually get into the summit program? Will, we got some tips. What do we got here?
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. I mean, for a lot of you, this might be your first time, interacting with angel investors. Maybe it's your first time building a startup, or maybe it's not. But either way, again, the key part of this process is getting your business and your startup, rigorously basically tested, right? And so you're going to get the same questions over and over again from, the angel investors in the group and throughout this process. And that's great, because that's going to allow you to run that business plan through the gauntlet and really to refine how you talk about your business and to really, test the beliefs that you have about the business and improve that again and again. A big part of this is building relationships with the investors. And so always be open to the feedback. Like Jesse said earlier, take every opportunity to connect with these investors throughout the process. There'll be formal meetings, but then, like Jesse said, there's the weekly happy hours in each of the cities and the regions. Come out to those. I'll be at all of them in Vancouver. Come meet me. I can introduce you to some of these investors in person. And just remember, right, in any investment process, this is a long-term relationship. So that's sort of the lens that you need to take, right? I'm building a long-term relationship with this person. And even if I don't get, funding right now, doesn't mean not in the future. It might just mean not now. So really think about this as, long-term relationship building. And then the other thing is you're doing this, with other founders, right? So connect with your peers, talk to your peers, learn from your peers, support your peers where possible. You can do that online, virtually. Of course, you can also do that in person at the different happy hour events and the different weekly happy hour meetups. But again, at the end of the day, like Jesse said, what we said on the slide here, like be the founder that you want on your team. Take this all as a learning experience, regardless of how far you get into the process. And just take it as an opportunity to build relationships with the investors and the other founders who are taking part in the process. And I'm just looking at some questions here. Jesse, you jumped in though. So what is it? Do we get to know who the angel investors are and their backgrounds? And so the answer here is the ones that are on your due diligence team, you'll get to know them directly because you'll be doing calls with them and you can talk to them. And then if you want to connect with some of the other angels in your region, again, the best way to do that is probably to show up at the happy hour events and the other events that are taking place in your city. In Vancouver, there are Thursday happy hour events, which are normal. And then there are a number of other founder roundtable events and founder panel events that I run here, and all the different regions are differently. But as a founder, take every opportunity to get out into the community and to build relationships with these investors. Back to you, Jesse.
Yeah, our just a note with our limited partnership agreement, which is the agreement that the investors all signed to be a part of the syndicate. We do have to hold them confidential unless they choose to reveal themselves. So there will be some investors potentially that are on the table. Just so you know, we do vet all of our investors pretty heavily. We do generally just have two rules, which is like don't be a jerk. So if you do experience any sort of jerk-like behavior from an investor, please let us know so that we can ensure that we get to the bottom of it. And if they are truly not the kind of person that we want in our syndicate, we will kick them out. And then the other rule is they have to be an accredited investor, which is the securities regulation rules for angel investing in Canada. So yeah, if you want to learn more about that sort of securities regulation stuff, you can let us know. Yeah, we had another question here. Is there an opportunity to attend happy hours in other regions? Yeah, if you are in Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, Regina on a Thursday night, we highly encourage you to come out to one of our happy hours. Well, TNT is on pause right now in Manitoba. I believe they are still running Tech Thursdays, which were very similar to the TNT. In fact, we ran our TNT happy hour in conjunction with the Tech Thursday event. Every week they do that at King's Head Pub in Winnipeg. So basically that's sort of the de facto TNT thing happening in Winnipeg as well. So basically in all cities west of Thunder Bay, major cities, there is an opportunity to come out and meet fellow like-minded individuals on a Thursday night. And yeah, feel free to come out to any of them. You're always going to be welcome. It's kind of just show up is our mandate there. Mike, just do a quick reminder. How are we communicating throughout this process? How can folks keep in touch with us?
All right, yeah. So yeah, every week through the process, for you make it, you'll get weekly email updates. Make sure you read those in detail before you reach out to your local lead or the investors with questions. We're all very busy through the process. Just reread the email because that information might be in there. They're very detailed. They've got pretty much everything you need. And if you need to, all the information, reach out if you do have questions. We are available. And then, of course, we've mentioned it 100 times now, the happy hours, attend the happy hours, and attend the events in person if you can. Sometimes we have founders come to us after the fact and say, hey, the investors I was talking with were really, excited and then I didn't make it, or, I didn't end up with investment. Well, and then they, maybe they pitched remotely at the event and they didn't come in any happy hours. And, again, can't stress enough how much relationships matter in this process, not just for TNT, but if you're raising investment anywhere, relationships are important. So you have to make the effort. You got to try and build those connections even beyond just the investors that are reaching out directly to you. And of course, leverage the entrepreneur resource base for more information as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a whole resources section on the website, and I'm actually just going to quickly post into the chat here as well. This is the playlist that is on our YouTube page, which has all kinds of great sessions in it for your reference. And yeah, we keep mentioning the happy hours. So just a quick reminder what those are. Those are on Thursday nights, starting at 6. They are very casual events. So you don't need to show up all dressed up or anything like that. The whole point is to kind of live up to our motto, have fun, make friends, and then we build companies together. So it's more of a friends hangout on Thursday nights. And if you don't drink, that's fine. See people taking shots here in this photo, but not everybody drinks every Thursday night. That's totally okay. I've been taking a bit of a sobriety break myself. That's totally fine. You can still have lots of fun. You'll find the conversation and the good times hanging out with other like-minded people will more than fill you up and make you excited and happy and having a good time. So all kinds of reasons why to attend there. And we've mentioned it multiple times throughout the presentation, so we won't have to reiterate it too much here. Yeah, final slide here. If you do need to reach out to us, our emails are here. Try to reach out to the folks that are in your local region as much as possible. Or if you do have a question, say you're traveling to BC or you're traveling to Saskatchewan and you just want to make sure you know where the happy hour is going to be and then that you're going to be showing up amongst friends, feel free to reach out to any of the leads as mentioned here to let them know that you're coming, and they'll make sure that you get introduced to some good folks as we mentioned throughout today's presentation. And with that, that's the end. Yeah, sorry, I didn't correct. Yeah, forgot to correct that URL there. That's the last one from the last summit. We're on Summit 10, Summit X. All right, I'll leave it there, and we've got about 9 minutes left for any additional questions, if folks have any at this time. Happy to take them. You can use the reaction buttons at the bottom, like raise your hand like this, or you can come off mute. Just ask a question. Dress code? No, no dress code. I think generally speaking, we just encourage folks to be but business casual. You know, I wouldn't, dress up like I wouldn't sort of wear super casual outfit. You know, you are showing up asking for investment. So they want to know that you can play the part both in the room with them and also with other potential investors or customers and the like. So encourage you to, maybe put on a blazer or wear some wear some of your nicer clothes, but yeah, be comfortable. That's well mentioned there. We want you to be comfortable. We've got a question about, is TNT open to alumni returning to pitch? Unless you're a winner, you can come back. Winners are the only group that are no longer eligible to reapply for a summit. If you've gotten a small side deal in the past, that's totally fine. You're more than welcome to reapply. One thing I will note is there will be a big question about what's changed between then and now and how if you advanced. So if you're not able to answer that question very well, then it's going to be difficult for you to get any additional investment this time around. We got a question here about getting a job through Startup TNT. Say like me, who's not based in the country but have skills that would be useful to any organization. Well, looks you're in here in a room with a whole bunch of founders. Put yourself out there. Maybe try to find people who are putting their LinkedIn's earlier. Maybe you want to reach out to them if you're interested in one of their businesses. We do have lots of folks that do find jobs through Startup TNT, including our investors sometimes joining in and working with the companies. We've had as high up as a CEO come out of our investor pool to jump in and work with the company and take over as the CEO. So yes, lots of jobs are often found through the Startup TNT network, especially with the happy hour. But yeah, if you're based outside the country, it's gonna be a little more difficult maybe to find something. But if you check out our LinkedIn network and kind of follow along that way, yeah, you might be able to find something remote. Any more questions? These are great questions. Nobody? Then we can jump off mute. Not, we can wrap up a few minutes early. Let folks on with their day. Looks like everybody's heading out. All right. Thank you. Mike, Will, any final words? Share.
Yeah, I would just say if anyone has any questions or they're unsure, please reach out. That's probably the best way to, learn anything you're wondering about. So Our emails are, I think, on the website or online, or just find me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to reach out. Looking forward to learning more about your company.
Mike?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a reason that our slogan starts with "Have fun, make friends, build companies." So, first off, have fun, get to know your local lead, get to know your local investors and the local community. Hopefully make some friends, and then we'd love to take a look at the companies deeper and due diligence and see how we can help you build.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even if you don't make it forward, as I said, there's always a chance for feedback. So there will be feedback throughout the process. Mike, Will, and myself participate in that process. So you'll always have an opportunity to try to improve for the future. And as mentioned, you can apply multiple times. You know, you can. The only thing we ask is if you have made the top 5 recently, like the last most recent summit, there should be a significant sort of step forward between that last time and this time if you are going to be applying again. Because making it to the top 5 stage is about as far as you can go beyond. The next step after that is actually getting the money. So yeah. And I guess maybe one last plug. Next week is the SK Startup Summit in Regina with Cultivator. I believe there are still tickets available for those that would like maybe to travel to Regina. I know there's going to be a number of investors there, including Mike and myself. Pretty easy trip over from Winnipeg or Calgary. So if you'd like to come join us, and of course, if you're in Saskatoon, just a quick drive down. So hopefully we'll see you there. And with that, we will let everybody get on with the rest of your day. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.